Throughout this call, I'm going to be asking you just, for your stats, what eliminations you've seen, your improvements. I'd like to hear that. So we can start off with those improvements right now.
Okay.
If you can take me through what your detox journey looked like throughout, you know, since starting working
Right.
with me one-on-one, and when you saw these specific improvements and kind of like your evolution throughout your detox.
Okay. Well, we'll start with skin since I already brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's healed a lot. When I first started with you, my skin was so broken out. It was covered in my chest, my breast, my stomach, my face,
Oh,
even my
wow.
back. And since then, it's totally cleared up. I used to be really itchy. It used to be inflamed and painful, but I don't have that anymore, especially when I used
Nice.
to take hot showers or just warm showers. That would really activate it, but I don't have that anymore as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the only thing I'm really working on is just scarring that's on my face.
Okay. Your
Hmm.
face looks really luminous.
Thank you.
Definitely, I can tell that you've been following the diet and you've been practicing detoxification to the best of your ability. So, it's only a matter of time. And like you said before, since you still have like the issue of, puffy face,
Hmm.
hair loss, and now, with the jaw issue going on, of course, the scarring on your face, it seems like everything is still up here. You've
Right,
healed a lot throughout your body, but it's usually the head that's the last to heal. So
right.
keep on, be persistent, keep on draining. And,
Okay,
a big major part of that will be to continue detoxifying your colon and draining your sinuses. And then all this will start to drain out.
right.
Mhm.
So other things that have improved, I have noticed an improvement in my cognitive function for sure.
Nice.
It's not where I'd like it to be. It's not 100%, but I definitely have an easier time communicating, writing. I've been able to read a little bit more. My memory has improved. I'm starting to remember conversations I've had.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So that's definitely been an improvement. And it's something that I still want to keep working at because it's probably the thing I'm most sensitive about.
Your
Um,
communication, your ability to communicate with people, and as human beings, of course, we need communication. We
right.
thrive on that. We need that connection. And I know a lot of people, especially for me, because my past with fibromyalgia, very
Hmm.
similar to yours with Lyme's disease. I was just like stuck at home. I was too shy to even be in any social situation, even with my
Exactly.
family members
Right.
or best friends. And at its worst, I had a fear of going outside by myself.
I was
I
like that for a long time too.
couldn't take public transportation, couldn't go into a store. I was so nervous that I'd have to talk to an employee there. That's how bad it got. So I definitely feel you, but you say that that has like vastly improved for you.
It has.
So nice.
I am still insecure about it, but I do feel like we're moving in the right direction, which is nice
Hmm.
to see. Other things that have improved, definitely my depression and anxiety. I still get triggered by certain things, but I'm able to recover quickly or more quickly than I was in the past. Instead of
Okay.
letting it take over, um,
Hmm.
I'm able to kind of work through it and move through it. Although I will have that kind of initial 24 hours where it's just like I go into panic mode. But
Okay.
instead of allowing it to go on for a week or a month, I can recover after a day or two.
Okay, nice. What if you can tell me a little bit about your process that
Hmm.
that you've discovered and that what works for you?
Well, now I'm able to kind of take a moment and look at it and see the bigger picture and go, well, look at the source. Why am I giving my power away to this person? And yes, I could
Nice.
try to hurt this person by punishing them, but then
Hmm.
ultimately the person who gets hurt is myself because I'm using so much of my own energy, which I don't have, to try to hurt this person in return or to make this person see from my perspective, like how they've hurt me. So I'm done with it. You know, I'm now at this point where it's like, I just want to focus on getting healthy. And the healthier I get, then I can move on and I can put myself into happier situations and not always be in fight or flight mode.
Yeah, look at that. And I felt that with myself in my own detox journey, it became so much about energy conservation and also participating in activities that were energy giving instead of energy
Right.
leaching. And that, in turn, uh, I desperately needed to make drastic changes throughout my life and also in how I responded to certain situations, because it is like you
Exactly.
said, when you're dealing with chronic fatigue and you're on your healing journey, dealing with detox symptoms in and of itself can be very energy draining. So you you realize that, oh wow, I'm only hurting myself with giving my power away to people, to situations, to my negative thoughts. I'm only holding on to this hot coal and I'm the
Exactly.
only one getting burned. So
Right.
that's fantastic.
Thank
And
you.
that's something that, like, I can preach all day, but unless you start to feel it and experience it yourself, you're not going to fully grasp it, and you have grasped it.
Right. Thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
that's been
welcome.
major for me because I think that's something, the emotional strain has been keeping me ill for so long because it stresses out the body. And
Hmm.
I'm not there anymore. You know, I'd rather just be like, well, look at the source. Is this person willing to make the same changes that I'm making? And if not, then I don't want to keep engaging.
Exactly. It can be difficult when it's like a close family member. So you have to make the tough decision to where, okay, you either cut this person out of your life completely,
Hmm.
but sometimes we can't do that.
No,
Sometimes if it's like a parent or a sibling or a
right.
child, or, it can be very difficult. So it becomes a matter of honoring yourself and limiting your engagement, and also being very truthful with what your needs are to that person. And sometimes they'll retaliate and not understand you. Hopefully they end up coming around, but during that time you have to hold your ground until they become respectful of your needs.
That's what I'm
Hmm.
learning right now, especially setting boundaries and restrictions.
Hmm.
Like, this is how much I can give to you right now, you know, and I can't do much more than that.
Hmm.
So, yes, but exactly what you said, very
Yeah.
much.
And I also want to ask you, I know detox can be isolating in a sense. Now, some people enjoy this type of isolation. If you're like an introvert, you don't mind. You kind of thrive
Mhm.
in that. But some people that are more extroverted, it can be rather depressing for them, because you do have to limit your interactions with people, especially with, when it comes to the diet, when it comes to having to explain to people what it is that you're doing, things like that. It can be more helpful to avoid those situations while you're
Right.
healing. So, what has been your experience with that?
Well, for me, I'm an introvert, so I'm very much happy staying at home and just trying to conserve my energy and focus on my health and my diet. And thankfully, the friends that I do have are very accepting of my lifestyle and very
Great.
supportive. So I've just been very lucky in that way. And for the people who don't get it, it's not for them then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, like, I personally had to suffer so much heartbreak because I did have friends that didn't get it.
Right.
And I was on the verge of being stuck in a wheelchair for life. So,
Hmm.
obviously, even though it's a tough decision, I had to let some friends go and I had
Yes.
to just focus on my health. So, the journey will look very different from person to person, but you're very lucky that you did have that support from your friends. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, when I first got sick in my teens, I had to let go of a lot of friends because I couldn't explain.
Oh,
Yeah, I couldn't explain what was going on.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
but it's really been probably in the last 10 years that I've been able to find people who, you know, reflect what I'm into and who I am. And
yeah. Hmm.
so I felt more comfortable with them. I've only kind of let them into what I've been going through in the last couple of years. Since I've started to heal more, I feel more open to talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, before when I was very sick, it was like I didn't know where my health was going, so I didn't want to talk about it as
Yeah, yeah.
much.
So it's like, as your confidence grew, in
Hmm.
in your healing journey, then you felt more comfortable to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when people, I always say, like, if you don't feel confident, it's best to lay low for a little bit. And
Right.
then as your confidence builds, then you can start showing more of yourself. Mhm.
Exactly. Hmm.
Nice. Okay, that's so great. So what else have you improved in terms of the other symptoms that you had with pain in your body? I know you had a lot of pain from
Right.
rheumatoid arthritis, from the Lyme's. If you can tell me a little bit about that.
I still get pain in my jaw for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, after the surgery, that'll improve. I, for time, get pain right here,
Mm-hmm.
which I find very interesting. It just kind of centers right here and in my lymphatic system on my right side.
Okay.
But my knees, the pain's gone away. It
Okay,
might,
really good.
yeah, I used to have terrible arthritis in my knees. I had to stop running. I couldn't walk for a long time. That
Mm-hmm.
was always swollen. But now it's really cleared up. I think the only time it becomes sensitive is right before my period.
Okay.
But otherwise, I don't have any troubles walking at the moment, which
Mm-hmm.
has been huge.
Okay. So this is really common with people that have what's labeled as autoimmune.
Mhm.
We'll just put it under that umbrella term, even though it's not autoimmune. The body doesn't attack itself. It's all acidosis. But what I notice is there are, like, people that have autoimmune disorders do have a lot of triggers that can set them off, whether it's emotions, whether it's hormone imbalances, temperature, like heat or cold, back and forth, environment that they live in, whether the environment is cold or humid or hot, whatever it may
Mhm.
be, toxicity around them, whether that's mold, fragrances. We, or you guys, have a lot of triggers that
Right.
you're combating, which is, back to the adrenal glands, like we were discussing. And so each one of those triggers has that root cause. For instance,
Mhm.
like with your colon, right? You notice that you hold that stress in your colon. And so, for people that have severe allergies like hay fever, oh, their sinuses are really impacted, right?
Right.
Or if they go into neurological type symptoms with coming into contact with some sort of toxin, right? They can start to have like fainting or dizzy spells. So it's like all over, right? And
Mhm.
so that's why you just have to be gentle with yourself. From what it sounds like for you, when you said, okay, during the times of my period, my that pain would come up, that's when estrogen levels are dominating the body.
Okay.
Estrogen is a hot hormone. So you have acid on top
Oh.
of acid, then your symptoms can explode more. Just
Mm.
like in the past, when you had like that interaction with like hot or heat or hot water, and your skin became more inflamed, it's the same exact thing. So
Oh,
it becomes
interesting.
a two-part process of cooling your body interstitially by eliminating those acidic hot wastes, and balancing out your glands and your hormones. It's both at the same time. So you're like, it's very exciting because you're like on this path, and you've realized it and it's clicked with you and you're doing it, and you're going to like completely 100% fully heal.
Well, one thing I've been experimenting with, which you brought up, was um, derivative baths, where you take like an ice pack and you put it down
Hmm.
in your underwear where your perineum is. And
Okay.
I've been experimenting with that because I do hold an extremely a lot of heat down there.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's estrogen related.
So that area,
Mhm.
the perineum, so that's like your abdominal wall, reproductive area, right?
Right.
Cold packs deflame. That's
Hmm.
their property. So cold equals alkaline, heat
Uh-huh.
equals acidity. So in any area where you're holding on to a lot of congestion and acidic waste, then the colds can have that neutralizing effect.
Okay.
Yeah, for pain. So doing those types of baths is really good. Like I said before, hot and cold therapy just pumps and moves the lymph system. And if you are experiencing pain, putting a cold pack on that area will always help.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cold packs.
Yeah, I remember when I was in my healing journey, I went all over the place, all over the world to try and find my remedy. And the one thing that started working, and this was even before I started to truly detox with raw and the herbs, was I went to Ecuador and they had the springs over there. So like the really hot
Oh.
water, and then they had like really cool baths, like freezing. And so I would go into the hottest water and
Oh, okay.
stay there for maybe like 3 or 5 minutes. And then I would go and plunge myself into the freezing ice cold water. And I stayed there for like 20 minutes at a time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no lie, like 20 minutes at a time. And so back then I didn't know. You go into the heat to pretty much make the cold tolerable.
Oh.
Right? So
Mhm.
heat a little bit to contract, dilate the blood vessels of the body, and in the cold to constrict. And it has that contracting and constricting effect on the lymph system. So hot and cold therapy pumps and moves the lymph system, which if you have acids just lingering in between your joints and your muscles, that action of going back and forth, hot, cold, starts to pump the lymph system and starts to move these acids so they're
Oh,
not
okay.
lingering. Now, the key that I was missing in the past was kidney filtration. I didn't understand that, but I did understand, oh, okay, so it seems like when I do hot and cold, I feel better. I don't feel as fatigued. I don't feel as much pain. And it was that action. And here's the dedication part. People would go, they'd just see me in the cold pool, and I was just there for like 20 minutes. They would go in and they would come out after 1 minute because it was so freezing. They looked at me like I was a crazy person.
Right.
But if you're in enough pain, if you want to die and have a different body because you're in that much pain all the time, you're willing to do anything.
Right.
You're willing to suffer through temporary pain in order to get your remedy. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because
Okay.
I feel like our stories are really similar.
Yeah. No, that's good because then I should start incorporating more hot cold showers. I've stopped since the weather's gotten colder, but it is a good thing to incorporate in my health journey for sure.
Yeah, you'll feel more energy and you'll feel less stiffness, and your lymph system will be moving. So now it's really about kidney filtration. So
Hmm.
if we can talk a little bit about that, since we're
Yeah.
on the topic of pain, how has that been like during your journey?
Well, that has improved for sure. In the beginning, I remember when I would look at my urine, there would be nothing.
Mm.
And now you can see little bits floating around. I've also seen big chunks come out.
Oh, nice.
Um, I can even see it if I just go to the bathroom and I don't catch it in a thing. I can just see it floating around in the toilet as well.
Look at that. Mm-hmm.
So I have had much more kidney filtration. My kidneys hurt less than when they did when I first began because I remember I would wake up in the middle of the night in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so that definitely has improved.
Okay, that's so great. And would you, what would you say improved your kidney filtration throughout your detox journey?
I think the herbs helped a lot, but also for when it was in season, I was having watermelon juice every single morning
Mm-hmm.
without fail. And I have such a good reaction to watermelon. It is detoxifying, but I also feel better afterwards. I have more energy, my head feels clear. I noticed that it helps so much with my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that it was that. I was also doing some juicing as well. Um, I like citrus, so oranges and lemons, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
lemons, lemon water was great. And then grapes too, and apples. Apples I have a lot of detoxification with.
Nice. Yeah, with the sulfur, remember you had that sulfur intolerance, right?
Hmm.
And I said it's not because of the mutations in your body, it's because you're
Right.
actually holding on to sulfur from the past, whether that
Hmm.
was from preservatives or antibiotics or anything like that.
Right.
You have that sulfur anytime you eat a sulfur type food that's not necessarily bad, like broccoli, cruciferous vegetables aren't bad for us, but if
Right.
you're holding on to all this sulfur and you're like gassy and bloaty and you're having those reactions from those foods, then you're not able to tolerate them in the beginning until you get that sulfur out of you,
Right.
cleaning out the colon. And like you said, apples are beneficial at just detoxing all this sulfur out. The
Hmm.
watermelon too. That's why watermelon is like my favorite fruit of all
It's
time.
mine too.
Favorite
Absolutely.
in its action at alkalizing and soothing, eliminating pain and stiffness, that clear headedness, cleaning
Hmm.
out the colon, and just the comforting and soothing properties in your emotions. You just feel like, I always compare it to like, if there's to be like a mother's milk in the fruit kingdom,
Right.
it would be watermelon
I
juice. You
agree
know what I mean?
completely.
So yeah, I'm glad you realized that and you benefited from the effects of watermelon. Come springtime, they'll be popping up again. And,
Mhm.
like right now during the winter time, I tell people just do the best that you can. I know it's hard to stay 100% raw, but if you're dedicated, you can do like at least 95% raw. You
Agreed.
can do it, right? And that's what you're doing.
Mhm.
Your cheats are very minimal. You're only having sweet potato every once in a while, right? So
Right.
you're golden. You're doing really good. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, yeah, another thing that's improved was my sweating. I
So
used
you had the excessive sweating, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I used to only wear black clothes. I had to wear things that I knew could conceal it, and now the sweating's gone. Maybe
Oh
I'll
my
get it if I'm a
goodness.
little bit nervous, then I
Oh,
might
okay.
perspire, but that's normal. But I don't wake up like that. I don't have just excessive sweating like I used to. I'm able to
Okay.
wear more colors, which is nice.
More freedom and expression, it sounds like. That's why I
Yeah.
tell people detox just allows you to blossom. Like it
Mhm.
feels like you're blossoming into like this beautiful flower, You're
Yeah.
becoming your full self, your true essence. But that's like the beautiful end result. Remember, there were times in your detox where things were looking pretty dim.
Mhm.
They were bumpy. You
Right.
were filled with uncertainty, right? But you had to keep on moving forward and pushing forward. You tried new things, but you were still had that detox focus, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's excellent. And but I wanted to tell you, your kidneys are definitely improving because excessive sweating comes from kidney weakness. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
yeah, because the skin starts to react and starts to sweat more to try and get rid of the acidic cellular waste
Mm,
if the kidneys aren't doing their job. So that's why the skin is the body's third kidney. So it's like, it's
wow.
backup. So and then you also expressed that you have a less lower back pain from your
Mhm.
kidneys. So it looks like your kidneys are healing with the
Yay,
kidney herbal formulas and all those things.
that's such
Nice.
good news. Yeah, because before I used to be so afraid to like go outside and interact with people because I never knew how I was going to be able to conceal it and how when it was going to happen. So
Mhm.
that's been such a huge relief, just mentally and emotionally.
Okay.
And then the other improvement is my period. It doesn't always
That's a
come
big
on
one.
time, but I get it every month. So usually it might be a week late or 2 weeks late, but it always ends up coming, which has been big because it's taken me years to get it again.
Hmm. And so, when did you first start having irregular menstrual cycle and PMS problems?
Probably around 16, 17. So maybe around 17. And then as my Lyme disease got worse and
Hmm.
I was dealing with anorexia, I just lost it completely. And
Mm.
so it's probably been like a good 10 years of just trying to balance it out and get it again for every single month.
Hmm. Okay. And how has this detox process been for you, coming from a past of disordered eating?
Well, that was a huge thing that I had to overcome with this. And I think that's why it's probably taken me longer than the average person who just throws themselves into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do have a background with anorexia, bulimia, and then my father has disordered eating. So I just
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a household where it was like I
Yeah.
never felt comfortable around food.
Yeah.
So one thing that's been a struggle is not trying to be a perfectionist. And then it's like, well, if I didn't do it correctly today, then I should just give up today and start again tomorrow. That's something I've had to tune out. Um, Also, learning how to eat in abundance, not being
Mm-hmm.
afraid to eat a lot of food. So now, if I make a smoothie and I put 4 bananas in it, I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like, oh my God, that's so many calories. Now I'm realizing, like, no, your body needs this to sustain itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been a lot. It really has. I've probably only come out of it within the last year as well. Not that I've regressed it out, but I've just realized there's all these old thoughts that I had buried within me that I had not addressed in a long time.
Mm-hmm. What type of thoughts are those?
The perfectionism for sure. The kind of,
Perfectionism.
yeah, the whole everything or nothing.
I
So it's
see.
like if I screw up today, then just call the whole thing off.
Okay.
Or, you know, just like, well, if I eat an extra thing today, then I can balance it out by eating less tomorrow or
I
doing
see.
better on my program tomorrow. And it
Mm-hmm.
really isn't about like start, stop, start, stop. It's just about progress throughout and
Mm-hmm.
maintaining the progress. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been a huge shift for me.
Yeah. I remember in your herbal protocol, I really saw that your hypothalamus gland was weak. When I see that there's a weakness there, um, we call it the ego pressure region of the brain, ego
Mhm.
pressure. It means that these individuals, if you have a weakness there, you're very driven, you have a strong drive, and that
Yeah.
can tend towards the side of being like a perfectionist. And it
Yes.
can derail you because you're constantly stressed out. And this puts like such pressure on your thyroid gland specifically to where you can feel like you have a like you're choking in your thyroid gland
Right.
and your
Yes.
throat and like someone has a chokehold on you, and that can damage the gland over time. Of course that leads to a ton of other different issues. So early on in your journey, I recommend the hypothalamus glandular for you because of those
Mhm.
tendencies, the disordered eating, the perfectionism, the drive, the genetic, and also upbringing too. So it's about genetic cellular weakness, but also upbringing. You had both going on.
Right.
Yeah. So that's so great that you're like working on that and that you're really close to healing from that
Yeah.
past. Yeah,
That
really great.
definitely it's probably taken the longest for me, but I feel like I've made the most progress with it. I've also
Mhm,
been working through it just with meditation,
mhm.
and I'm doing the Tai Chi still,
Yeah,
which has helped a
that was a
lot.
huge thing. I remember you said that that you found like a Tai Chi instructor that was able to help you with that.
Yeah, well, she's amazing. And one thing that was difficult in the beginning for me was that I just wanted to keep getting better, 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 better. And I
Hmm.
wanted to show her, like, oh, I'm such a good student,
Yeah.
which is such an old
There's that ego
mindset.
again.
Yeah. But now I'm at a point now where it's like when I show up, I know that every single time she's going to give me a new correction. And that doesn't mean
Mhm.
that I'm bad at what I'm doing. It just means that we're still learning and that you want to always have corrections in your life because the minute that
Mhm.
you aren't correcting yourself, you stop learning.
You
You
stop
know, there's,
growing.
yeah, you stop evolving. So now it's like I look forward to that when she says, okay, let's try this and let's move through this. And, we have times where I'll show up and instead of learning anything, we just talk for an hour.
Oh, wow.
So she's a really great teacher. She's taught me just a lot about what it just means to be a student.
Hmm. And just being comfortable with not knowing everything, not
Exactly.
not being that A plus student even, right? all
Right.
the time. I know I had that crazy past. I like in high school, I was
Mhm.
like, I have to have 100 in every single class. If I have a 99, I'm going to
Yes.
die.
Yes.
So,
I
yeah,
know that all too well.
yeah, and it just how much stress has that put on your adrenal glands over, over your entire life. And that's
Mhm.
why it does take some work and just some years at healing all of this. But would you say that there's like people that do come from a past of disordered eating, what would you recommend for them to like get out of that and do try detoxification? Because I know it can be difficult when you're stuck in that mindset. And yeah, the raw diet is, in a sense, you are restricting yourself. So
Yeah.
how are you like really able to overcome that? What would you recommend for someone like that is in that situation right now?
I would say a slow transition for sure.
Hmm.
When I first started, I just threw myself into it. And then it was like one day I woke up and I was like, this is overwhelming. I can't do this. And I had to take a step back. And that's when I just started focusing on veganism because
Hmm.
I went from the standard American diet to straight into raw. And it was just a shock to my whole system. So
Hmm.
just taking it slowly, enjoying the process, enjoying eating vegan, trying different vegan foods, even like the gourmet vegan, which may not be good for you, but it's like at least you're allowing your brain that kind
Hmm.
of comfort.
Hmm.
And then slowly transitioning into more fruits and vegetables. I
Hmm.
started doing raw until 4, which I think is a good way to do it.
Oh yeah,
And then having
definitely.
a cooked meal at night, I think really supporting yourself emotionally and mentally too by doing meditation, really working on rewiring your brain.
Hmm.
Just when you have a negative thought, immediately change it.
Hmm.
That way, every time you do have that same negative thought, your first instinct is, oh no, let's correct this to the point where you no longer have to think about it. But a
It's
slow,
second nature. It
mm-hmm,
just happens automatically. But that's years that you're undoing of,
yeah,
you know, going to that setting, because it is that setting of like, oh, negative thought runs more negative thoughts, racing thoughts, and your emotions go all crazy.
right.
So it takes that time, a few months being consistent, a few years being consistent, and then it'll become second nature to you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So for sure, a long transition, enjoying the process, enjoy what you're eating.
Hmm.
Um,
And be
think in terms,
creative with what you're eating
yes,
too. Hmm.
exactly. Also experiment with your eating, try new things. That's always fun. Um, oh, what was the other thing I was going to say?
Hmm.
Oh, eat in abundance. You
Hmm.
feel so restrictive when you start this diet, and it's not about
Hmm.
that at all. Really enjoy it, eat a lot. Um,
It's not about counting calories.
no, not at all. And I think a lot of
Throw
people
away
get stuck on that.
chronometer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, don't focus too much on being perfect. Don't focus so much on fasting. I think fasting can be really difficult if you come from a background where you fasted, but it wasn't for health reasons, it was for
Exactly.
control reasons.
Hmm.
So, yeah, for me, it was just like I had to take a step back and just slowly step into this, which helped a lot.
I also wanted to point out that that's why a lot of people fall off of the raw diet and even veganism, because they do take fasting to the extremes.
Yes,
And then they wonder why they feel like crap. It's like,
exactly.
So fasting has its place. Fasting is excellent, excellent,
Hmm.
and it is a part of your detox journey, but you have to know when to do it, for how long, and you need to first and foremost support your glands before doing that,
Right.
because if it feels difficult to fast, you shouldn't be fasting. You
Yeah,
should be doing it when your body is ready physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And then it'll be like that walk in the park.
exactly. The few
Mhm.
times that I have fasted, it wasn't because I said, oh, today I'm going to fast for this amount of time. Instead, it was just like my body just went into it without me realizing. And I just kind of let it happen until I felt like I needed to come out of it. And for
Exactly.
me, it was more spiritual than it was physical.
Hmm. Yeah. So you would say the people that have, and I'm reiterating this, the people that have the most success with their detox journeys, they, if they don't realize it at first, it clicks with them somewhere on their journey that this is a spiritual journey.
Yes.
Spiritual journey first and foremost. You can come into the diet for physical reasons, but eventually to have that success, you have to make that connection
Mhm.
between the physical and the spiritual.
Exactly. And that's why I know that I'll be able to stay with this diet or this lifestyle forever. I have no intentions of ever not being vegan again
Nice.
because it has become more of a spiritual practice for me.
So wonderful.